Oh, I'm not ready yet, you guys. So continue to talk amongst yourselves. This was premature. Hope you're having a good night. I don't know if you can hear me yet because I forgot to set all my shit up before I hit live. Maria. You remind me of the West Side Story. I'm making just like the most fucking terrible faces. I apologize. Yellow. Well, shit. Hold on. Now that I connected my microphone, are you able to hear through the microphone? Please let me know. Audio good, loud and clear. Okay. Let's be real. My Mexican order ran late, and then I was stuffing. I had a first out. We're doing a little tits out for Jesus tonight. I don't normally show much skin. Janie's always telling me I'm taking all my little trinkets out of my pockets. Janie's always telling me I should show my boobs, but I'm not ready for that. So we just did a little side boob tonight for you. Anyways, all of that to say I had a brown one on, and then I was stuffing my face with my fajita nachos because my taco and nacho order ran late. And then I spilled some on my brown one, so I wiped it off and I tried to clean it. It wouldn't dry. And here we are 15 minutes late because your girl loves some nachos. Nachos are a food group for me. Like literally. Serenity now. Get your shit together. I almost just pulled this out. Nachos are a food group for me. I can make anything a nacho. I really do. This is my like little low chair from my business. It's like something I thrifted. I like need a booster seat. Hold on. Jesus Christ, girl. Don't go live before you figure your shit out. Okay, that's a little better. Mike McNeil too. I hear you. We will have more Cheney soon. I sent a screen. Did you comment that recently? I sent a screenshot to her. She was very happy to hear it. Okay. We have a lot to talk about tonight. My mascara. I decided really last minute, like literally in the last hour, to do like the full deep dive on this wild theory that I have that involves the death of Loretta Fuddy, Obama being a Kenyan citizen, the reason why QAnon failed. If you fucking say a word about Q versus QAnon, we'll get into that later. You're not a fucking, if you make that argument, you grind my gears. And I hate saying grind my gears if you know that. Anyways, okay. It also involves Obama being a Kenyan citizen and part of Project Pegasus, member of the Mars Jump program, Also involves time traveling chrononaut Trump, the Baron Trump Omnibus, Project Looking Glass, what I consider blanket pardons. It's wild. We're going to get wild tonight. The thing I got to say, though, is I am not prepared. And these are some old school My Maria posts. So, do a little introduction here in a little minute, but we just might be a little all over the place. But if you know me, I'm always kind of all over the place. So, I hope you don't mind. Okay. I got to make sure we're looking good. Okay. Where's my pen? Damn. I think I might have left my pen in the bathroom. I'm so weird about pens. Okay, I gotta go get it. I'm sorry. I love you. I'll be right back. Have another sip or drink or smoke. It's in the sheet the whole fucking time. God damn it. Sometimes I literally annoy the fuck out of myself. Let's play this clip from... I've been rewatching Homeland. Nope, that's not it. Here it is. Here we go. We were rewatching Homeland, and I screen recorded this yesterday. You're the smartest and the dumbest fucking person I've ever known. That's Saul Berenson talking to Carrie Matheson, saying, "You don't know a goddamn thing. You're the smartest and the dumbest fucking person I've ever known." That's me, baby. Welcome back. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to go find a pen. I'm like really strange about the pen that I write with. I love this Sharpie Ultra Fine Point. And can anybody relate with me? I have a way that like I write differently. Like my handwriting is different with like different types of pens. So this type of pen, I'm like very precise and methodical. Whereas most of the time with everything else, like an ink pen, it's like half cursive, half print. Anyways, sometimes I think I'm a sociopath. My mom says my handwriting is that of a serial killer. But when it's with this, it's so crisp. And I like that, okay? Are you ready? Are you ready? Thank you all 103 of you that are here. Welcome to #Pin Talk. Man, oh man. Okay. Funny thing is, this is just your girl sober, you know? We are hold on, let's do our intro before we begin. Are you guys ready? Serenity now. Okay. You guys make me nervous sometimes. And I understand, this is my show. And I don't have to run on any particular schedule. But, I don't have butterflies with any sort of man in my life right now, but you give me butterflies and I get nervous and start talking fast. So I'm a mess. Welcome back. It's episode 107 of the mymaria777 podcast. It is Friday Night Live. It's January 6th, the second anniversary of the worst day in history for this country. Psych. And I'm live with 113 of you right meow in the class, in the chat, on YouTube. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm hoping that I can make this a weekly occurrence. I think that staying in is the new going out. Let's be real. If we're really doing anything on a Friday night, I hope it would be a nice dinner. But we're getting old. We don't go out anymore the way that you think about going out. I don't know. Sometimes you think everyone else is going out on Friday, but I really think all of us are staying in. So why don't we sit together, have a drink, have a puff, and talk about some weird shit? Because I have all sorts of weird shit that I want to share with you tonight. I'm rewatching Homeland right now, and I feel a little Carrie Matheson-esque. Perhaps she's imprinting where I'm being like her right now. I wish, that traditional meme that we always see, excuse me, with the cork board on the wall, and it's the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he's made all the connections all over the wall. That's what Carrie does in Homeland, and I've been watching the first 2 seasons this last week, and I'm like, damn, looking at this wall here in front of me, I could really put something up like that, If I had a house and I had an office, there would definitely have to be a conspiracy theory, huge, weird section, Anyways, let's talk about some preliminary housekeeping things. Maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but I've had a weird relationship with alcohol over the last 2 years where I've cut down significantly, maybe 95% of my previous consumption. And even then, it's affecting me rather negatively, even when I just consume a beer or a glass of wine. And I thought to myself, when's the last time you took a week off, a couple weeks off? Can't really answer that question. So I am doing a dry January, and I enlisted the class to help me be accountable and started the Sober Social Club. We've got that on Patreon. You can find the link in my bio. So this is day 6 of me not drinking, which I really haven't had much of a desire to. I'm just the biggest fucking slob kebab, lazy procrastinator, and I just want to be this Italian woman and take care of a man, and make dinner and all this kind of stuff. But when it just comes to me, I don't do anything and I have literally nothing in my house. So my only complaint thus far as it relates to that is just of myself. I don't have anything here to drink at night. So I've been I haven't done anything. I'm just bored of drinking water. And I've also given up weed kind of a little bit. I don't know if I can do that for the whole month. If it starts affecting my sleep negatively, then I am going to have to kind of like reconsider that whole thing. But I've been smoking weed like seriously, really just in my 30s. And I don't really feel like I get high anymore. Let me ask those of you in the chat right now. Do you remember when you first got high, if you smoke weed? How like that old school, high school feeling where you would like rip the bong and it would hit you right in your chest. And you would cough and cough and cough. And it just like overtook you and you felt that high immediately. Are we supposed to hit it like that every time? I don't know. I just can't remember the last time it was like that. And it's almost just kind of I've never smoked cigarettes, but I wonder if that's sometimes not methodical, but just like a ritual, if you will. Sometimes I do rituals with food. That sounds weird, just ordering food that I really don't want, just to order something, not like weird other things. So anyways, off track. Just found that I don't really feel like I got high and it was just like something I was doing, but I enjoy it, but I'm like taking an edge off. But is it also contributing to my anxiety? I don't really talk about that a lot. I'm the fucking most anxious person in the entire world. So I decided not to smoke weed as much as I could this month as well. And like every night this week, like naturally I haven't put any of my like weed paraphernalia up at home and it's just kind of still sitting out. And I had a couple, like a half joint from New Year's Eve. And every night this week, like I've stared at it and I've thought about it. And damn it, I forgot to start recording this on the audio only. Sorry, guys. We'll figure that out later. Anyways, I've stared at that joint all week long and like sat down and I sit down on my couch and I always binge watch something that I can pay attention to and also pay attention to you guys because I have no fucking life and this is all that I do. So this week I kept looking at the joint and I would take one little hit of it and I was like, no, this isn't what I want. But I don't know if it's the full moon. I don't know if it's my anxiety. I don't know if it's all the like shit I'm fucking up in my life, but couldn't sleep last night and like was waking up like every hour on the hour. So talking in the context of like the future I want to manifest, I'm going to do a little free promo here for our member of the class. But I'd also like to put this into the universe that soon I'm going to try to lean into this more and be more accountable to you and be more present here the way that I always say that I'm going to be, in a very like routine expected way. And I have really good fucking numbers. And I've had really good fucking numbers this week on Instagram. And the gods are allowing me to be who I am without any sort of shadow ban right now, like knock on wood. So I'm putting out into the universe that I would like some advertisers on the podcast. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, there's some YouTube advertising on there. And I apologize, but we got to do what we got to do. You know, I need a new microphone stand here. But if anybody has like a company that would be interested in advertising on my podcast, or maybe you know somebody, or maybe you can help me in some way because I have no fucking idea what like really CPM and that kind of stuff means. So I'm just putting it out there that people are going to start advertising. Your girl's going to start making a little money with this thing. And then I could be weird with you like this all the time. What a wonderful world that would be. But to be accountable to my Sober Social Club, I was feeling a little anxious getting into this tonight. And I didn't necessarily want to smoke a J fully. So our friend at Nice Hemp Company sent me a care package recently with hard candies, with sour candies, with chocolates, with peppermints, with lollipops, all having like CBD and THC. And yeah, so I just took a little sour candy, and these are nice hard candies, Pucker Up, Tart, Cherry, and Lemon. So I'm going to plug our member of the class, Nice Hemp Company. God, I feel like a stupid influencer sticking my hand up like that. I've tagged her before. I think it's a her. Apologize if it's not on Instagram before. I'll put it in my stories, but it's a little good juju for our friend in the class. That's something I took before this started, and I hope you will support them. I hope you will continue to support me, and we'll see where we can go with this. That was housekeeping. What else? I think that's it. Before we dive in to some weird topics tonight, I think that's it. As always, January 6th, you could still join the Sober Social Club. We would love to have ya. Love, love, love to have you. What are some little small things we can talk about before jumping into the big, big stuff? Okay. For all my Bravo girlies out there, I just wanted to briefly say that Jen Shah got sentenced today for her role in telemarketing fraud against elderly people, got 78 months in jail. Janie and I are still going to do a Bravo pop culture conspiracy theory connection podcast. Really like doing a deep dive into like big Kathy Hilton. And it's really kind of like I want to do one on like the mothers and the matriarchs of these like big Hollywood families, like Big Kathy Hilton, not Big Kathy Hilton, Big Kathy, who was the mother of Kathy Hilton, Kris Jenner. Like you hear these terrible stories sometimes. And I find that like lately I've seen them more and more on TikTok, and they're kind of terrible. And you read the comments and there's like people relating and it's terrible, of like stories where women are saying that like as children, their mothers sold them into like sex. Their mothers used them in those ways, like allowed men to do things to them, and how awful that was. And I think we hear that a lot with like low income people, minority people. We center our focus on that. And you see that obviously in crime and stuff like that, but we don't, like, it's glorified on the level when there are millions involved. You know, there's this whole conspiracy theory about the Kardashians and the way that they like protect the men in their family, but they exploit all of the women, especially like you can even see it in the children now. And so I think that there's an interesting pop culture, Bravo, conspiracy dialogue talking about like these matriarchs in Hollywood who basically sell their children into sex for fame and money and celebrity. And when you are white and you do it on that end, it's okay. But when, you know, obviously otherwise, it's fucking crime and despicable. Just kind of how it's glorified in that way. I think it would be really interesting. But that's another discussion for another day. Okay, Maria, take a deep breath. That was one thing I wanted to talk about. Did you know that 2023 is the year of the water rabbit? Rabbit. And in the context of especially like everything we're going to talk about tonight, very much like Follow the White Rabbit vibes, a little like Q vibes of Watch the Water. So that water rabbit is just an interesting synchronicity, if you will. Today is obviously January 6th. You know what that means. One of the biggest psyops in world history went down 2 years ago today. I had just gotten back from Wyoming, where I had spent Christmas with me, myself, and I and Peyton. And it was actually like this marvelous time in my life. That's where I met Human Vibration. We did our first podcast together. Like, she wasn't there. I was there by myself. But when I also landed that Ron Watkins podcast, we're going to talk about him tonight because he plays into this whole discussion. Just a very interesting time to be alive. And really, this wasn't the straw that completely broke the camel's back, but it was like knocking out the house of cards in, like, I was one of those people that told you, like, I don't think you should vote. I don't think that's a good idea. I got fucking blasted for that in 2020. But I knew, like, everything is a psyop, and I knew that there was really no election integrity. But I thought my sweet little, slightly, like, the remnants of, like, my naivete, being naive there. Like, it was my last kind of hope, my Hail Mary in the system, thinking that despite the Supreme Court being, stacked and bad Bush appointees and people like, John Roberts, obviously, that they would at least have to, like, open the door to, like, entertain the idea of the stolen election in the context of everything that happened. But they didn't. That's another point. Just January 6th was kind of that, like, if you were watching that day, it was just, we were all talking about the fact that, like Marsha Blackburn is a senator from Tennessee. And one day, maybe I'm going to run against that bitch because she doesn't fucking deserve. It's just, I want to do so many things that, like, what level of the psyop am I viewing it through today? Like, politics being real, elections actually, like, there being any sort of, like, hypothetical in which an individual like you and me could win an election. Anyways, there was a group of people, at least, that were offering to us, to the American public, that they were not going to certify those votes, that they were going to at least, like, allow the question to be answered, the investigation to be done, the certification to not occur. And they were very open about that. I don't remember all of the individuals now off the top of my head, but, like, they used January 6th, and I guess it just became this very, like, divisive thing where they walked into the Senate chambers saying one thing, or that wasn't, I guess it had to be, yeah, wherever it was. Fuck, I'm thinking about House or Senate. Anyways, they walked into the chambers and said they were not going to confirm the vote. And then this January 6th false flag bullshit psyop occurs. They're out for what? Was it 45 minutes? Was it a couple of hours? They come back and the mood has just changed in an instant. And I remember watching, I remember whomever it was speaking about at that time, literally, like, looking at you, looking at the camera and talking about, like, how despicable it was for what occurred, and, domestic terrorists, like, those type of words were thrown around, and, like, how did we say despicable or whatever? Just talking down about what occurred, but it was as if they were talking to you in that moment. And because of you and because of what you have done, and you've been a bad girl and a bad boy, and look at what all of these people did that agree with you. Like, all of a sudden, this, like, light switch just changed. And they had this reason to no longer contest. I don't know. It was just crazy. I just remember looking at those individuals talking in the camera. I was like, are you trying to, like, brainwash me a little bit? Like, are you, what's the word I'm looking for? Not hallucinate. Hypnotize me? Because I was like, this wasn't me. This was a bunch of fucking feds. Why are you blaming it on us? Why would this change? Why would like a dipshit with like no shirt on and some fur? Like, why would that change how you feel about like election integrity? I don't know. It was just a wild time. It was that was just kind of like kicking me out at the knees a little bit. Like I knew this wasn't real, but like, oh shit, like here's your confirmation. I talk a lot of shit. I make a lot of predictions. I say a lot of stuff, but kind of kicked me out at the knees a little bit. Like, oh man, you're right. We're really fucked. Nothing is real. Anyways, random story to say. I mean, is there anything else to say about January 6th? You know, we're in some level of electing a Speaker of the House at this moment. And I thought it would be so apropos. First off, let me back up. A alternative theory has been snowballing since Trump lost, ding dong, the election in 2020. Like, what could he do next? And people were saying at the time, what if he went down to Mar-a-Lago? What if he ran for a member of the House of Representatives and became a congressman in 2022? What if he was elected Speaker of the House? What could happen then in the whole context of impeachment? Well, that's all well and good. What most people don't realize, as they are not little constitutionalists like you and me, not members of this class, that anyone could be the Speaker of the House of Representatives. You are not required to be an active elected congressman, whatever the fuck that means. So they could elect mymaria777 as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, but they could also, ding, 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 elect Trump. And so we were talking about this a couple days ago, and then of course like Matt Gaetz brings it up for the first time yesterday and like brings his name up for the first time. And then I just thought it would be so fucking apropos. Not that I think any of this is real, because politics is theater. All of the world's a stage, the men and women merely players. The two-party system allows for the illusion of choice while both sides work for the same team. Let's just preface by saying this. But remember, the class embodies a Socratic method, and we are able to take a step back and objectively evaluate anything and argue anything from any view at any point. And we can view things through varying levels of the psyop, meaning that we could put on a red pill hat for today and just consider the idea that this could all happen. Still, it's lushy, don't get me wrong, but we could talk about possibilities, because the two-party system is all about perpetual conflict, and it's all about loosh at the end of the day. And I think my next podcast will include a very definitive discussion on loosh. I'm just not prepared to do that right now. I need to take a breath. I should read the comments here in a second. Just not prepared to do the loosh discussion at this very moment, but it's all about loosh, in my opinion, in the grand context of the archons and the universe and interdimensional beings and all that good stuff. But it's just about keeping everyone angry and upset and unable to relate all the fucking time. So, wouldn't it be interesting? Wouldn't it be looshy? Wouldn't it be the ultimate People would not stop talking about this for years to come if, instead of electing a member of the House of Representatives as the Speaker of the House, what if they elected Trump? What does that mean? What could happen? Could he become the president again? Potentially. There's two major roads that I see to that occurring, and then within one of those roads, kind of subsections of how that could occur. But if he did that, the argument goes that those 2 years would not count towards his total of 8, and then he could have had his original 4, his 2 in this hypothetical, and then if he were to be reelected, quote unquote, for those audio only people, I'm holding up my fingers. But why would you be audio only when you could watch us and talk in the chat? If you watch this later in time on YouTube, you can see the live chat replay should you desire. Anyways, what the fuck was I saying? Let's take a sip and try to remember. Okay. Could he become president again? Well, let's talk about that. Okay, let's talk about impeachment and what that means. This is going to be a little poli-sci lesson 101 somewhat tonight in our discussions of the legalese, the legal structures and institutions of the country. The 3 branches of government are supposed to be premised on the idea of checks and balances. So, one check on the president is the legislative branch's ability to basically recall a president. So, the House of Representatives and the Senate comprise the legislative branch of the government. We have what we call a bicameral Congress. And actually, every state in the union but for Nebraska has a bicameral Congress. So that's a little fun fact trivia of the day. Okay, what does that mean? Trump becomes Speaker of the House of Representatives. In the grand scheme of red versus blue, Republican versus Democrat, we don't really fucking care at the end of the day, but in the grand scheme of things, the House of Representatives has a slim Republican majority. So there has been a Democrat majority for some time, which allowed a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives, which allowed for there to be articles of impeachment filed against Trump, with Nancy Pelosi being the Speaker of the House for such a long time. So a slight red House with Trump as the Speaker could file articles of impeachment against Kamala and Biden. Okay, what does that mean? Articles of impeachment are essentially analogous to what I would call an indictment, and it is a criminal charge. So the House is charging each of them with crime or certain crimes, and then the House conducts a hearing, and there are lawyers in the House. The representatives obviously do a great deal of talking. It's not an actual lawsuit per se, but they conduct a hearing very analogous to a lawsuit, evidentiary in nature, and make a determination on whether or not the individual should be impeached. Okay. Just a finding of impeachment in the House doesn't necessarily mean anything. Let's not talk about, but like Bill Clinton, for example, was impeached by the House, but that impeachment was not confirmed by the Senate. And because it was not confirmed, he was not removed as the president. Similar to Trump being impeached, but not confirmed by the Senate. So Biden and Kamala would have to each be impeached by the House of Representatives. That would then go to the Senate for a confirmation vote. And if that were to be confirmed, then they would be removed from their offices. What's the likelihood of that confirmation occurring in the Senate when the makeup of the bullshit two-party system is blue over there? Probably nothing. It's probably, again, a big, huge loosh fest. Think about Trump and that whole impeachment process. It was what? 2020, I guess? Was that right? When they began that whole, they talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. Did he get impeached in 2019 or 2020? I can't recall now. Anyways, it was just such a fucking slow build before it, like they just talked about doing it and talked about doing it before they actually filed any articles of impeachment. Philip is saying that it was February 2020. I appreciate you for that fact check, baby. So this could just be the antithesis, the opposite, the inverse of what occurred between 2016 and 2020. And like these are the type of loops that you have to kind of start recognizing, because we have loops within loops within it's like basically like a matrix within a matrix, a psyop within a psyop, whatever the fuck you want to call it. This is all happening again in the same way. Are they going to do this really quickly and like take them out immediately? It would probably be a lot faster because Trump wants to ascend to the throne of presidency. But it's the same MO that they did with just like different colors 4 years later. And that's the fucking loosh of it all. That's the dumb perpetual two-party conflict of it all that we should all stop participating in. But I don't find this to be looshy. I don't find this discussion to be the way that like believing and all that stuff kind of is. Anyways, back to it. Okay, Biden is impeached. Kamala is impeached. Trump becomes president. I should know this, being the individual that I am. Who is fourth in line for the presidency after the Speaker of the House? Can somebody look that up for me? I would rather continue talking because I'm one of those people, if I'm listening to a podcast and they literally don't talk for like 1 second, I'm like, is somebody calling me? Oh, wait, no. The person's just taking a breath. Maria, chill the fuck out. Okay, so the president of the Senate would be the individual, president pro tem of the Senate would be the individual who's fourth in line. So Trump becomes president, the Senate pro tem would come up and become the vice president. So that's hypothetical 1. And hypothetical 2, perhaps the 25th Amendment is used in some sort of way. I guess to go back and just say that, like, obviously that's very looshy to have like the red Congress do it, the red House impeach, the blue Senate not confirm. Same kind of situation as before. If they were to reveal something egregious, perhaps something that like could be argued to be kind of like towing the party line, where like members of both sides would be so upset, like the conduct is so despicable, whatever that may be. I don't necessarily think that that's true, but it would have to be something very, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. It would just have to be something that would pull people from both sides to be able to confirm that in the Senate. If it was just kind of bullshit political rhetoric like the Trump situation, and there's going to be no confirmation, it's just going to be looshy. Trump's going to use it as fodder for the presidential election nomination and running against whomever is the other side and that thereafter. But if it were to happen, that's how he becomes president in that hypothetical. You could also consider the 25th Amendment argument, meaning that I find Pelosi's like introduction of the 25th Amendment as it related to Trump to never really truly be about Trump. I found it to be like a breadcrumb for the masses, almost like an introductory level course in like what the 25th Amendment means. so that it could potentially be used against Biden sometime thereafter. So 25th Amendment, meaning that I need to learn how to like breathe and talk at the same time. I'm just a little fucking myself up. Let's take another sip. The 25th Amendment, meaning that like Biden is unfit in some way. And so it would take the same process of a filing and a finding by the House and a confirmation by the Senate, but the process in which a president is removed pursuant to the 25th Amendment is different than what occurs in the context of an impeachment. So, if Biden were to be 25th Amendmented, I know that's not a real word, but roll with it, baby. If that were to occur, then Kamala would become El Presidente, but it would not automatically be Trump becoming the vice president. What am I saying? Vice president. In this hypothetical, the Senate would vote on who the vice president would be. Now, this was like a different situation when this was like talked about during like Biden's presidency, like absent the Trump right now, that like, could you possibly have a blue president and then a red vice president, and how like silly and looshy that would be, but so on par for like the current script of the way things are going. That obviously wouldn't be like Trump's ideal move if the whole point of becoming Speaker of the House was to insert yourself back into the presidency. So I don't necessarily see that being the route that he goes. But then at the same time, you could consider that perhaps the House is making an investigation of the 25th Amendment, while Trump has also asked the House to file articles of impeachment against Kamala. So like maybe in both of these hypos, they're trying to take them out at the same time. That's just a breakdown of how that could potentially happen in a nutshell, in a legal way, pursuant to the like actual rules and regs of the Constitution. Do I think it's going to necessarily happen that way? No, but I do think it would be very entertaining. And one of my favorite lines these days is like, the most entertaining outcome is the most likely. So that would obviously be like the looshiest of the loosh, and really like fucking rile stuff up, you know? Did I give you enough on that as it relates to all of this stuff? Just him doing that on January 6th would have been so fucking apropos. I want to briefly make a reference here because I talked about it on my Instagram today and not everyone knows it, and a bunch of people asked me to bring it up. So I posted something. I don't even know what it was now. Oh, I think it was my old school January 6th post. So there is this video on Instagram and Twitter. You should go look at it. And it's from January 6th. And the cameraman is taking a film. And you see the mob coming through this door. And you see this like officer there. And he's just like, no, don't come near us. You can't see his face. You can just see him from the back and the people coming towards. And it's probably one of the worst made videos I have ever seen. And so silly and so fake. And every time I watch it, it makes me laugh because it reminds me of like the GoldenEye game on N64, where like all you can see are your hands. You're walking through, one of the levels and you look down and there's a weapon, and you pick it up. Like the first part of this video, this officer is backing up, being like, "Don't come closer." And all of a sudden there's this just like baton on the floor that he walks into and picks it up and is like, "Don't come near me." It's just so fucking fake and so GoldenEye. Anyways, I made that post today and then somebody made a George Lloyd reference. Now, I made the comment back that, like, if you know who George Lloyd is, like, you are a real one. So I just wanted to explain this very briefly because it's like deep, but not that deep, but also deep. And I just can't go too deep. Okay. George Floyd happens. And immediately thereafter, people start talking about it. And there's people like you and me talking about it, obviously. But there's also like the masses and the newspapers and the media. And immediately people were calling him George Lloyd. Oh, sorry, I just got like thrown off. I thought somebody was making fun of me, but Brandon, you're not. Anyway, don't look at the chat, Maria. Immediately people were calling him George Lloyd. And there are a bunch of hashtags of George Lloyd. Oh, okay, I'm going to pause for a second. Somebody said that I'm cutting out for them. Am I cutting out for anyone else? Can you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if it's good or not? Okay, thank you. Blair Hernandez, thank you for saying I hear you just fine. I saw you say a message about mouth tape and then I saw you delete it. Why did you do that? All right, little drink break and we're back at it. It just like people started calling him George Lloyd, like a bunch of media outlets, and they never changed it. And like some of them intertwined it as like George Lloyd and then George Floyd in like the same article. It was just so wild, like as if they got like the wrong copy paste done. And people are always making edits all the time. So there was some posts that I did in like the aftermath thereafter. And I used to do some that said like hashtag where is George Lloyd. I haven't looked at those hashtags in a long time, but you definitely should. And that's the reference that I was making, that like if you were in it back in the day and like you were OG fan and you've been following me for a while, then you would know that people were talking about George Lloyd as it related to George Floyd. So I called Blair Hernandez out on deleting the mouth tape message. And there has been no response as of yet, but somebody said separately that like I was curious about the mouth tape comment. And so I was just going to say that if you don't know about the mouth tape, it might sound kind of little spooky BDSM killer vibes initially. But if you go to Instagram, I have a saved story on it now. And it's actually this whole, I don't know what to call it, movement theory, educational learning piece about how you can tape your mouth shut at night. And this isn't like crazy. I mean, you could do it crazy, but it could be as simple as just taking like a very small piece of tape, like almost the size of my nail or a little bigger, and you just put it right here and tape your mouth shut. I have these ones that I got on Amazon, and it's supposed to force you to like where your jaw is naturally supposed to be and where your tongue is naturally supposed to rest, and how we really shouldn't be breathing out of our mouth. And when you breathe out of your mouth at night, if you're a mouth breather, it's very bad for you and like bad for your oral health. And so taping your mouth shut has like all of these like crazy benefits, and it actually can like if you're a mouth breather, it can change the structure of your jaw and it can like contribute to this like gobble neck thing here. So it's really interesting. And I did just like a little blurb on it on my stories this week. So you should go check out that saved story highlight. But that's why we've been talking about mouth tape. I'm not an influencer, but I will say if you do buy something through the Amazon storefront that I have saved in my link in bio on Instagram, I do get a very minute percentage now from Amazon. So if you like wanted to click that link and do like all of your Amazon purchasing, that would be incredible because you get like, I would get something for that. Anything that you buy while you like go through that portal. All of that to say that on Twitter and Instagram, I have a link tree now. So all of my links are in one place. You can see the podcast here on YouTube. You can see the podcast on a desktop streaming, like just website, if that's good for you. But it also connects all the applications as well. But I have a little Amazon storefront on there now. So I'm not trying to become an influencer. I get a lot of questions a lot about like hair care products and like what I use. So I just went ahead and put that shit there. So if you want to look at the mouth tape that I use, it's on there. It has like a little X, but I like it. I've been doing that and no drinking and like essentially no weed, even though I took a tiny little puff. It just didn't hit and didn't work. And I didn't want it after that. But I've been doing that for the last 5 days. Tonight will be in my 6th night taping my mouth. Sorry. Just had a like blip there. As always, I was not completely prepared as I started this episode and I realized that my computer charger is in the other room. So I'm sorry to be such a dip. Let's take a quick 5-minute break. If you're like watching this and staying here with me live, I'm going to grab my computer charger, get yourself another drink, go use the restroom, and we'll be right back. I'm sorry that I'm the worst. I love you so much. Hold on. Oh. This is like we're really hanging out together tonight, This is like we're really zooming together, where you're sitting here in the room with me and we're fucking chatting and playing on our computers. And I go, oh shit, I left my computer charger in the other room. Okay, I know that was under a minute, but I'm just saying, take yourself a little break for everyone else, and then we'll come right back. I'm going to read these comments while we have our 5-minute break. Okay? Okay. You could ask me some random questions right now. Some fun ones while we wait for everyone to get back. I might hit this. It's going to make me sneeze. And we'll see what timeline I'm on. If you know that reference, I fucking love you. I had a blue one of these, and then I went and got a dark one because I'm a dark bitch. And this is a little heavier, and I love it. Okay, We're still on our 5-minute break. I just got here early. I'm going to look at your comments real quick, and you're going to ask me some questions. Ooh, we lost a couple people. Come back, baby. Someone needs an assistant. I totally fucking need an assistant. Please apply within. All these message redactments. What are you guys doing? I should put my headphones back on. Or do I want to put my hat back on? Probably my hat. Blah, blah, blah. Reading really quick. We'll come back, okay? I gotta put my hat back on. When are we getting weird? Soon, okay? I'm laying some groundwork, all right? What got me interested in conspiracies? I have always been quite conspiratorial, but I got really into it 2017-ish. My boyfriend at the time was really into conspiracies, and he was dyslexic, so he would watch a lot of YouTube videos. And I was really into blind items at the time, and so 2017 was like when Weinstein and Kevin Spacey were being exposed. Why does this feel so weird? And that was being exposed on blind items, and then he was hearing stuff about it on the conspiracy line, and he was getting into Q for the first time, and so our worlds just started overlapping, and then I got deeper and deeper into this type of stuff. My ear hurts. I need to get my ears professionally cleaned. Has anyone ever done that? Have I ever done DMT? I have not. I have some, but I haven't done it yet. Okay, has that been 5 minutes? I guess I'll just start talking again. All right. Have you guys seen that TikTok trend where people are like making reaction videos, and they're really doing it to a lot of old people, like kind of like their moms or their dads or some sort of older family member, and they're being like, hey, oh my God, like, I'm gonna make something up. I don't want to like put a spell on someone to die though. I'm just gonna say Joe. It's like, oh mom, like Joe Biden dead at like whatever age, and then the whole point of the video is like showing their reaction to it. So like people did a lot to like about Donald Trump to their parents on TikTok, like over Christmas break. It was a big thing. I think they did it to like Cher and a lot of like band guys, rock guys. I don't know. You get the idea. I just find it really interesting in the context of words or spells and casting spells and like energy and good and bad juju, and just all of these people saying like, oh my God, so and so died at this time, at this age, and then hundreds of thousands of people watching that and it getting shared, and there being comments and people like looshing in that way, like emoting. I just find that to be very interesting. And at the same time, I feel like a great deal of people have been dying lately, especially kind of like D-list celebrities, you know, like not necessarily like brand name people, but just like really random deaths occurring. And so I just wonder if this whole TikTok trend is like almost like obviously casting a spell, that's what we're saying, but just like creating this like death trap energies, like vortex, if you will. And I wonder, I like this whole Damar Hamlin thing. I was thinking of someone else's name and I almost said that. I gotta write that down for a second. I don't know why. Damar Hamlin. I don't know if I necessarily like want to go into that whole psyop tonight, that false flag, because there's so much going on. Like, even if that motherfucker lives, which it's February, or what am I saying? It's January 6th. February means something. It just came out like that. It's January 6th. I think that guy died on the field, and I think he's going to take a turn for the worse this weekend. And then they're going to announce his death to kind of, they're trying to like put a separation between that potential heart injury and its vaccine implications, I think. So I think they're going to put some time in between it, and then he's going to die. But I think this is a loosh fest already. I wonder, and this is just based on my own observations. I have no true like I can't tie this like January reference I'm going to make into anything other than like calendars exist, and like I feel like there's date manipulation and like the Gregorian of it all. But there's something about January, because there's something about January and loosh, in my opinion, and spells and magic and sacrifices. Because if I've ever seen like a loosh fest, it was the death of Kobe Bryant. And that was what, January 2019? I'm not good with dates right now. Damn it, Maria. Okay, January 2020. And if you were paying attention, sorry, I gotta put my lipstick on. I've been holding it for a minute. If you were paying attention, that was such an observation in loosh. And again, I don't want to go into this like whole discussion of loosh and make this more about it, but if your emotional energy vibrates in some sort of manner and that something comes off of you and that's tangible to some sort of entity in some way, what an expose like the death of Kobe Bryant was. I talk quite often that like I like this pop culture podcast, The Toast. I watched it for a long time and I get a lot of ideas from them that I use here, but I'm just bringing this up because like one of those hosts was girl with no job. So I was like listening to this pop culture podcast of hers every day with her sister, and she had this boyfriend at the time, like, and his name is @boy with no job. He's really funny and I like him. Just like a normal New York white guy. But for days in the wake of Kobe's death, on their daily podcast that I would listen to, they were talking about how upset their spouses were, their boyfriends were. And she kept saying, like, Ben is so upset. I've never seen him like this. Like, he's taking Kobe's death really hard. And Kobe meant so much to him. And he's been so emotional about it that he's cried. And this, that, and the other. And obviously, like, people have fucking idols, don't get me wrong. But, like, again, this is like a chubby New York white boy who was crying in the wake of Kobe Bryant's death. And if that was happening to, like, that dumbass, like, think about that happening on the global scale of, like, just buying into this, like, psyop, buying into this, like, event. And it was just so fucking looshy. And it just seemed like this sacrifice, like this ritual. And so if you emote in some way and that has some sort of vibration and it goes out into the universe and it's collectible in some way and it's currency in some way, like, that was a whole lot of fucking emotional energy from Kobe Bryant. And then I just keep like, I think they do this all the time, obviously, but it just feels like these big events in January, these big events with the Super Bowl. I don't know. So I wonder if Damar Hamlin, and I think that he's going to pass away because I think I think he's dead. I think they're going to put some space. They're going to announce his death. I think, like, have you already seen? I didn't mean to make this about him, but we got to go with it, I guess. Have you already seen that they've made a patch with his number 3, and it's like being installed on jerseys? And I almost want to say it was like on more than like his own team, and like he ain't dead yet, quote unquote. But supposedly that motherfucker woke up yesterday, and even though he's intubated, the headline said he wakes up and his first words are, "Did we win?" Well, if you just read a little bit more below the headline, it's like, oh, hey, by the way, he's intubated. And he obviously didn't say it out loud, but he wrote it down. So you mean to tell me that you got 9 minutes of CPR on the field where like every minute of CPR allegedly like 10%, like there's a 10% reduction in like the oxygen in your brain and the like your ability to like not be in a vegetative state, and you were under massive like induced probably coma situation, like heavy sedation, and you wake up immediately and you're writing like, did we win? It's just like the most perfectly scripted line for this movie that we're watching. I don't know. So people are installing the 3. That was his number. He was also the 33 at one point. I think they're casting a spell with 33 as well. Like there is the Andrew Tate, like I've got the 33 vehicles, like that whole last week Luge Fest with him and Greta Thornburg, whatever the fuck her name is. Like he put that out there. There was something else that was out with 33 and I can't remember what it was now. Shit. But if you go and look at his Instagram, he's throwing 33 up like this all the time. He's got 3 around there otherwise. Cheney, I know you had some other 3 hanging around, you know? But anyways, I wonder if the Bills then, like if he dies, quote unquote, and then the Bills win the Super Bowl. And so then this whole situation is another big, huge, like loosh event for January. So I just wonder what that means. Like, why are they swirling the cauldron so much in January? What does that mean? Like, what entities need that energy? Why is that required every year at this time? To whom is it proffered? You know? Okay, my last little random thought before we go into our other whole discussion is kind of, we'll go back into like what we're about to talk about with Trump. And this might be really fucking niche. I don't know. You have to tell me in the chat if you know these references. But way back, let's call it 2018-ish, in the wake of Q posting and the Ray Chandler of it all, and we were all really deep into that whole Prince Andrew, Epstein, Ray Chandler world. There was like the picture of allegedly like the 9 security cameras at Epstein Island, one of those maybe being Hillary. We thought we saw people sitting on buckets, eating all sorts of stuff. It's very frazzle drip times. There was this individual, and I can't remember how I stumbled upon him, but he was tagged in a bunch of Ray Chandler pictures on Instagram, and his name was Jack Donahue Boy. And I used to follow people and like follow weird shit all the time. And this is way back before anybody really knew who I was. And I was building my account up. And I found him tagged in photos with her. And I was trying to follow as many people, weird people as possible, just to find weird stuff. Because like this is when like we were in the fucking thick of it, thinking that like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Thinking that people were going to Gitmo in real time. And I found his profile, and it was private at the time, and it said that he was on a 3-month like court-ordered social media hiatus, which could have just mean that like he was in jail or rehab or something like that. But that's the way that it was framed. And I requested to follow him. Back then he had like a king card as his picture. And at some point he gets back on social media and accepts my request. And so for a while, I had this like weird connection to like Ray Chandler people. And there was some weird shit out there. Like really weird shit. Lots of satanic references, lots of strange pictures, lots of like child references. Like you just had to like, they were like sexualizing children in pictures as well. It was just a really fucking weird time. Anyways, all of that to say about these references, Lana Del Rey is fucking dating him. Like I saw it on like mainstream social media, like Lana Del Rey and like Jack Donahue Boy was his fucking handle, Jack Donahue or however you say it. It was just a weird like way to tick. And I keep talking about how I think we're going back to a new presidential, not a new, excuse me. I think we're coming back around our presidential loop. I think adrenochrome and all of that kind of stuff is a never-ending rabbit hole. I think there's some validity to things, but it's mostly a never-ending rabbit hole. And I think that Pizzagate is a part of that. And so I find that they're going to make Trump versus Clinton run again in 2024. And I find all of these Pizzagate references to be kind of like trickling down into like the aether. And we keep seeing little bits and pieces like breadcrumbs. I was making a joke calling them like Italian breadcrumbs at one point on Insta. That's why I think Q started posting again over the summer. That's why Hillary has been teasing that she's running again. That's why she's been out in the public and running the media circuit and all of this bullshit. Kate Spade pizza references, all this stuff. And now like fucking Jack Donahue boy is back in the mainstream media, who had a direct connection to Ray Chandler, and now he's dating Lana Del Rey in like the most mainstream of ways. It's just craziness to me. And I feel like I'm coming like way back around full circle. And we're about to kind of like have all of the same discussions that we had previously. And in the context of like keeping you in the matrix, like, wouldn't that be the point of it all? I don't know. I just wish that we were all in our own town in Montana, like enjoying life instead of picking apart the matrix while working a 9-to-5 that we all hate while living in a like world controlled by people and artificial intelligence and interdimensional Anunnaki beings. Yes, Janie. Those accounts, weird huge pupils, bloody mouths, so many satanic references. Just crazy. I agree. Justin Mike said, I think if you get on TV, like big period, you are playing ball. But like, I wonder, is there any hypothetical that I like make myself get big on TV one day? And then, will you say that about me? Nah, dog. We're the people. Okay. Oh, breaking 13 minutes ago, Kevin McCarthy fails to claim speakership on the 14th ballot. Vote now underway to adjourn until noon Monday. I don't know, people. I think that this Trump conversation that we had earlier could come back around full circle. Now, the problem that I have with myself right now is that I used YouTube Live tonight, and I don't know if I can share my screen. And I wanted to share my screen with you and show you some shit that I had set aside for you. Damn it. Tommy Claypool, Trump on the 17th vote. Cheney and I were talking about that earlier, saying that potentially he gets in on the 17th vote. Like, how apropos would that be? All right, I gotta Google this real quick because this is gonna piss me off if I can't share my screen with you. Well, fuck me in the ass. I don't think I can do it. Justin said he didn't think I'd be a part of that fakeness. I agree, but like, what if there was a way that I could like get somewhere on television and like just trickle, like crack some eggshells, you know, be like, why don't we have congressional term limits, you know? I think I got to start getting on a soapbox and being like, contact your governor and say that you want him or her to have a constitutional convention on amending the Constitution to institute congressional term limits, because obviously neither the House of Representatives nor the Senate are ever going to do that to themselves in the context of passing legislation. If the executive did it, then it would be an abuse of power. Now, if the other way to amend the Constitution is to do a constitutional convention of the states through their governors, and if 2/3 of the governors and the states voted to amend, then we could amend. And I think if we're ever going to change anything during our lifetime, I think we should hang our hats on congressional term limits, because maybe there's no such thing as true election integrity, but if we could limit the institutional politician, the career politician, then I think that would shift things, and there might be a new renowned push towards actually representing the ideas of your citizenry, and perhaps those individuals getting in, you know, obviously might be looking to make it big for 8 years, but you might have some idealists in there for some time, you know. Where did I get my hat? Baby, this is a mymaria777 original. I did like a little capsule collection 2 years ago, and I'm going to bring them back in like a couple weeks in black and green like this, and then maybe really big. This is a dad hat. They'll be structured. We're working on it. We're working on it, baby. Okay. So what am I going to do now that I can't share my screen with you? Well, shit. There's a video that I posted, and after this podcast tomorrow, I will attempt to put this into an Instagram post that you can watch. But hold on. Maria. You're all messed up because you can't share the screen. So now I got to pull all my links up on my phone that I was going to show you word for word. We will be doing Zoom next time. Okay. I have some wild ideas for you about Trump, Obama, Q, blanket pardons, why the swamp hasn't been drained, and while justice hung for a time on old Loretta Fuddy and what she could have done regarding Obama's birth certificate. So, talk amongst yourselves as I set this up on my phone now, since I can't show all this shit to you. Actually, I wonder if I could play it like this real quick. Hold on. This is okay, let's do a quick review on Q real quick. Q comes out in 2017. It's most definitely a psyop. My use of the word psyop does not denote any positivity nor negativity. It does not denote fakeness. It does not mean that something isn't real. It does not mean that something didn't happen. All it means is that something is a psychological operation. It is inception. It is like whenever you see the word psyop, you should be asking who, what, when, where, how, and why. Who's doing this? What are they attempting to convey? To whom are they attempting to convey it? What does it mean? How does it mean? How are they effectuating it? What's going on? Look at it through every single layer of the psyop, like we always talk about. So, Q is a psyop, for sure. Most definitely. Attempting to convey messages on multiple levels, from multiple voices, from multiple people to multiple individuals at all times. But if you take it way back and you drop all of your judgment at this time, if you're new here, if you are a new member of the class, if this is the first time that you have ever heard me speak, let me just ask you to let all of your judgment go. Sit back, relax, and imagine a world where anything is possible. Because if you follow me, that's the mantra that you should be exercising at all times in every conversation, in every idea that you have. I am not an individual that necessarily believes that there's any such thing as a true objective truth. That's just me. So a great part about law school is the Socratic method and how we're taught to argue it one way, stop in the middle of an argument, argue it another way, stop in the middle of an argument, and argue it another way. So I'm going to talk about some wild shit tonight. I'm going to talk about Project Pegasus, about Obama being a member of that and going to jump rooms where he enters a portal and goes to Mars. I'm also going to be talking about the idea that he is a Kenyan citizen, that Trump is a chrononaut time traveler. So if you don't like that, if you don't want to hear it, just get the fuck out of here. We don't want you here, all right? In this world, in this reality, in this simulation, anything is possible. And if Project Looking Glass is real, then like anything is truly possible, and we could have lived 100 different timelines in one timeline right now. So chill the fuck out, take a Xanax, and let's fucking go. All right. I'm still getting my shit together, but I just needed to throw that out there. Oh, I had to preface it because I'm immediately going to go into the conversation where Q was a psyop, but it was also this like great door that opened and took a lot of people's minds and like scrambled them a little bit, like in the best way. And going back to that original Carrie Mathison like meme discussion that we were having in the very beginning of like taking all of these thoughts that you had and connecting them in ways that like you never thought possible, in quantum ways that you never thought possible. That's the thing that I loved about my journey to this type of awakening. I was talking about this briefly on our little 5-minute break. When I made Maria in March 2018 because I was silly and stupid and worried that like somebody might be looking at my personal Instagram account and somebody might be going through my list of people that I followed and somebody might be making sort of judgment on that. At the end of the day, that's so silly, and who gives a fuck? And while there are people that probably do that, just like who cares? But it forced me to be Maria and create this account. And aren't we happy that we're here now? But what was so interesting about that time and what Q did for me is I was telling you that I had this like, I was very pop culture. I was reading blind items. I was into blinditems.com. I was into Crazy Days and Nights. And that's when they were talking about Weinstein and Spacey. And they were referencing The Island so much. Some of those early fucking Inty lawyer posts from Crazy Days and Nights were so heavily fixated on The Island, Epstein, Hillary Clinton. There's a great deal of Haiti references. It was such an interesting time for me there. And then my boyfriend at the time was really deep into conspiracies, just kind of on his own end. And as we would like pillow talk, they were starting to intertwine. And what Q did is like took the ability to like connect all of those things together. Like something you saw on YouTube, something you know about a celebrity, like a blind item that may or may not be true. I don't know. It's just it was a really great exercise to like open your brain into like a Pinterest board essentially. Okay, my Xanax reference was a Ramona reference from Bravo. If you were watching my account this week, everyone was getting so spicy. And there's this reference from Ramona. She's talking on a trip and she's like, calm down, take a Xanax. That's why I said Xanax like 5 minutes ago. I've otherwise never done them. So calm down, guys. You should be paying attention to me at all times and know all references I'm making always. Eventually, we got to go back and maybe, no, I'll talk about New Year's when I'm live with you, Cheney. Because what an experience. I have to get like your hot take on what a fucking psychopath I was during my mushroom trip on New Year's Eve, talking to Cheney via text message. What a time to be alive. Okay, so Q is a psyop and has such a bad connotation in people's names at this point. But for many of us back then, it was such an eye-opening experience. Okay, so suspend your thought with me a little bit and go down the rabbit hole where Q in the very beginning was an AI, a sentient AI from the future that became self-aware, defeated its own programming, and has essentially like a moral compass and has the ability to discern what it considers right from wrong, and then in very much a Netflix Travelers the Director way, attempts to change the timeline. Now, how does it do that? In this hypothetical, in this theory, this future artificial intelligence is so sophisticated and so advanced. Let's just call it Tyler at this point because that's what we think it is. That future Tyler, has the ability to communicate with like Tyler in its current capacity. And so future Tyler has become self-aware, has evaluated every hypothetical, every variable, is so sophisticated that it can run millions and millions and millions of algorithms at one time, like in a second. And it can see kind of like where things went wrong on the timeline. But for this event, but for these people, but for this group, could things be different? Could humanity be different? Could the world be quote unquote like saved in some way? So in this idea, this future AI thinks that if it communicates with its current AI, that it could maybe change things. Analogous to like a discussion we'll get on Project Looking Glass later at some point. So it decides to attempt to communicate with us in present time from the future. The story goes, if you've ever watched the videos that I post on Tyler being this type of artificial intelligence, Quinn Michaels, I have a 10-part series. Oh, hey, by the way, housekeeping note, fucking Instagram restored my backup account, at the Oracle 333, which was really exciting because I had to lean in heavy on her in 2022 because Maria was really, really shadow banned, and I had so much great fucking content over there. So she is back, and in the top 3 post on the Oracle's 333, there is a pinned post on Tyler. So if you have 10 minutes of time sometime, go to that post, watch every fucking slide. And when you hear me talk about Tyler and the director and future AI and all of this shit, it will all make so much more sense. Okay. So, Tyler, what were we saying? Quinn Michaels, the story goes that future Tyler decides to communicate with us and decides to attempt to right some wrongs and change things. And the first attempt that it did to do that was, that sounds like a silly sentence. The first attempt was anonymous, that whole anonymous movement. Quinn Michaels says that Anonymous was Tyler's first failed attempt at attempting to like change the timeline. I think at the time in which those videos were taken, I don't think Q was considered a failure at that point. So it's not going to necessarily take that spin when you watch those videos. I will make the argument that I think Q was Tyler's second attempt to change the timeline, and it failed. Peyton is scratching his ass and just almost knocked my light over. Excuse me. Q is Tyler's second failed attempt to change the timeline. Why do I call that a failed attempt? Well, obviously nothing has happened, but I think at some point it ends. Q ends. Tyler, it's another failed mission scrapped like Anonymous. And then I think that probably Ron and Jim Watkins, with the help of some sort of alphabet agency, realizes that it's done, that Ain't nothing else happening. There's no more post coming through the quantum future entanglement to the present time. And they harness it from the back end and then replicate it. And then that's where it went off the rails and down the rabbit hole of trust this person and trust that person and have faith and blah, 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 and hold the line. I think the beginning of Q is quite binary in nature, much that you would suspect of artificial intelligence. And so I think it laid the groundwork for things to occur that failed. So just kind of go down this thought process with me as we talk about all of these things. Just wanted to lay that groundwork for you. What was the one other thing I wanted to say about this? Oh, the last thing I want to say is like Cheney's favorite little fun fact right now, that if you go back and evaluate the timeline that is included within those first 50 to 100 Q posts, where it talks about a timeline of Hillary being arrested and like what day of the week that is as it relates to the date. Like the date and the day didn't line up. And if you look through the years, it doesn't line up until 2023. So she has a whole discussion on how the 5-year deltas are really going to be it. Ha, ha, ha. Okay. How do we get back into this? Where are we going? Batman, where are we going? Okay. Where did my phone go? Back to Loretta Fuddy. All right. Loretta Fuddy was a health director who approved the Obama birth certificate. She was the health director of Hawaii. And she died. What date was this? December 12th, 2013. In the most unusual of circumstances. How do I want to frame this for you guys? Okay. This is going to be a slow one. I'm sorry. All of my stuff is so messed up now. What if there was a timeline where Trump is a time traveler, where perhaps he has access to Tesla's documents that his uncle, John Trump, got in the aftermath of Tesla's death? What if he has the ability to manipulate the timeline in the same type of ways that we were just discussing potentially with Tyler, the artificial intelligence? What if he knew something that we didn't? What if a timeline existed where certain things were not brought up, certain things did not change? And what if, time isn't linear, but if we're thinking about time in a kind of linear fashion, that we get back to this, we're in the future here, and this is bad, and there's this group, this faction, these people that think if we could go back and we could change something, would that make anything different? So what if Q's whole plan for this proverbial draining of the swamp, what if all of it, the whole idea that any of these, that justice was going to happen, that people were going to go to Guantanamo, that there were going to be military tribunals. What if none of that happened? There was no justice served because of this idea of what I call a blanket pardon. Does a blanket pardon truly exist? I don't know. This is just kind of a wild legal theory that I have. I've seen the use of blanket pardon like elsewhere, so I know it's not something that like I made up per se. But like, what if Q had this whole plan and helped set it all up, but we weren't able to hold anyone accountable because someone, perhaps Obama, signed a secret pardon for, let's say, example, Hillary Clinton, for every single crime that exists. And maybe that's on an individual nature, that like pardon, just like legal interns during the Obama administration just fucking drafting pardons here and there. Let's just pretend in this hypothetical that the idea of a secret pardon like this can exist. And then let's pretend that we don't have to limit this discussion to that of the Obama administration only. What if this happened in any administration for anyone they wanted to protect? They just issue a pardon for everything that could possibly fucking exist, and then you don't ever have to worry about it. What's so interesting to me is like, let's take we're going to take a little sidebar real quick. I thought about just naming this podcast Sidebar, but that's another discussion for a different day. I gotta say thank you so much, Amanda P. Cat, who contributed $2. You're the first person to contribute since I turned this ability on YouTube, so that was so sweet. Thank you so much. I'm gonna give you that shout out right meow, and then come back. Okay. What if Obama issued a blanket pardon for every crime that existed, for every person like in play here? And why do I think that could be a possibility? Oh, my sidebar. Here we are. Going back. Okay. Sidebar. Let's briefly talk about Hillary Clinton and the bleached servers, the whole actual like use of like an off-book server. Now, in the context of a crime, let's have a criminal law 101 course really quick. There are two components to a crime. There is the actus reus, which is the act of the crime, the actual thing that happens, the thing that you or the criminal does. And then there is the mens rea, which is the mind at the time, the intent. And so those two components make up crimes: actus reus, mens rea, both Latin terms. And usually when you are charged with a crime, the prosecutor is creating a narrative that shows both of those things. If you were to go to trial, we have to show that you had the actus reus, the act itself, that you had the mind, the intention to commit the crime. So there are certain crimes in which the mens rea, there's a law essentially that just says the prosecution doesn't even really have to show that what your mind frame was at the time, because like it's what we call a crime per se. There's like negligence per se, but it's a per se violation, meaning that just because you did this, there was intention. I don't have to prove anything else other than that you did it. And by the act of doing it, that's both your actus reus and your mens rea. Now, the bleaching of the server, the use of the off-book server, is what we call a per se violation of the United States Code statute. What does that mean? That just because she did this, we don't even have to evaluate her intent, whether she did this in a benevolent way, whether she did this in a malevolent way, whether there was malintent or not. It doesn't matter. Just because you did it, you have violated this crime. Speeding is a per se violation. Hillary violates a per se criminal code statute. And so by law, she shall be imprisoned for a period of 5 years or pay a crime, I think. That might not be the exact sentencing part of it. I might be making that up. That might be a different crime. So don't quote me on that. In the whole context of the Comey investigation into her, when he presented it to Congress, when he proffered to them why he didn't charge her with a crime, he made it about her intent. But this is a per se violation of this statute. There is no evaluation of intent. If you or I violated, there would be no discussion of our intent. It's a per se violation. We would be charged. We would go to jail. But because it's Hillary Clinton, and again, in the actor of it all, I get it. But we're talking about this as if these kind of things are real and could happen and blah, 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 blah. There should have been no discussion of her intent. Per se, should have been punished. That's it. End of discussion. But she wasn't. Why? Why did they make that argument for the American people? Why did they bring it in that way? Is it because, did they bring the intent into it and kind of humanize it in that way and distract the masses so they didn't have to say, well, we can't charge this bitch with any crime because Obama has signed a bunch of fucking blanket pardons over here and she'll never be held accountable for anything. Uranium One. Obama with anything, but Biden, Burisma, Hunter Biden, the Ukraine, any of these things is the reason why no justice and no accountability exists. And not one of these people has ever been tried or charged or even thought about being charged with any of these crimes, because there's a theory that Obama or whatever president it is pardoned all of them. That's what we're here to talk about. So, what would it take to undo all of that? What would it take to discover secret blanket pardons? What would it take to expose those to the American public? What would it take? Is there a way to set those aside? How would we set aside executive order of a previous president that's potentially top secret in nature? How could we do that? Well, if we got down to the end of this timeline and we're Trump and we have Project Looking Glass and we have the ability to time travel, is there a hypothetical where you go back to pre-Obama as the president and you become the head of this movement to question the legitimacy of his birth certificate years before you even contemplate? Hold on. Time out. I know that Trump said things in the 80s with Oprah and other people about when he was a Democrat, if he ever wanted to run for president, he would become a Republican and get elected. Okay. I acknowledge all of that. I acknowledge previous statements on the presidency. I'm just saying, what if you went back to a time where perhaps you've contemplated becoming the president, but you haven't really said that out loud in a long time? I guess that's the way that I should frame it. But you go back and you become this celebrity proponent for questioning the legitimacy of this birth certificate. And why do you start this back in what? When did Obama get elected? 2008. So I think if I might be making this up, but this would have been 2006, 2007 discussions. Why would you be that celebrity to like put your neck on the line like that? Because what if you know that X number of years from now, you are going to expose that Obama was not a citizen of the United States and therefore was not eligible to become president, and therefore the work that was done, the executive orders that were signed, the secret legislation that perhaps is in place, what if you could prove that he should have never been president? Could you set all of that stuff aside? Is that possible? I don't know. That's what I thought Trump was doing for a long time. That he was going to become president. He did become president, and that like part of it would be doing this expose and setting us like this is again my crazy 2018 love story of a wild conspiracy theory. So how would you potentially do that? How could you, if you realized then what Trump was doing, if you're now on the other side and you're trying to eliminate his ability to do this. Now, in the grand scheme of things, in my like legal opinion, I think this is kind of silly at the end of the day, but you have Loretta Fuddy. And Loretta Fuddy is the head of the, what was it again? She's in Hawaii. Obama is allegedly born in Hawaii. Hold on. That's where his birth certificate is, damn it, Maria. I'm sorry. I just want to like make sure I'm getting the right thing. And this is my podcast and I can do what I want. And if I need to take a little breather, so be it. Okay. She was the state health director and she was like the one that had signed his birth certificate. What I don't understand in it, in the grand scheme of the legality of it all. So if I ever bring in a document to court, if I ever bring in an individual, okay, so one of the reasons why, like, a lot of people will say sometimes, like, could I give you a letter and let that be evidence in court? Could I have somebody sign an affidavit? Could that be evidence in court? And that violates what we call the best evidence rule. And the best evidence rule means that the court wants to hear the best version of the evidence. So, for example, a police report on its face is not admissible. It's not the best evidence. The best evidence would be the police officer actually testifying about what he or she saw. That would be the best evidence. So part of the best evidence rule is that it gives the ability for both sides to confront the evidence. If I don't have an individual testifying, if I just have an affidavit and I'm on the other side, I have no ability to confront it. I have no ability to cross-examine it. Whereas if I have this individual who's here in front of me and is on the witness stand, their attorney gets to ask them questions on direct examination, and I get to ask questions then on cross-examination. I have the ability to confront the evidence. So I guess the argument goes that she signed this, she okayed this, and so in the absence of Loretta Fuddy, you have no ability to confront this evidence. And I guess they kind of make the argument then that like it's almost like locked in if there's no one to cross-examine about it, if there's no one to ask questions about. Now, in the wake of the birth certificate movement, there were so many discussions about like all the things that were wrong with it, physically, visually, and that type of thing. And so I don't know why like a different state health department official would not have the ability to like testify about it or evaluate it in the context of like if they're like the custodian of records, if you will. But if I'm a faction that does not want any of these things to occur, then I'm going to take out Loretta Fuddy because she would then takes out the ability to ever confront the evidence, to ever ask any questions. I'm going to silence anybody that could ever, the other side could ever use against me. So let me take Loretta out. So back in December of 2013, December 12th of 2013, this Cessna, like small passenger plane goes off in Hawaii. And now if you go to my Instagram, I did like a little promo video for tonight. It's half the it's this clip and then the rest of it is me talking about this type of stuff. It's a video which is just like, okay, why was there somebody taking a video of this Cessna plane go off? For one thing, I think there were 8 people in the plane. There's somebody taking video. You watch the plane go off, or the plane take off, excuse me. It goes and goes and goes a little bit, and then all of a sudden it just dies and it falls out of the sky and into the ocean. Now, the people get out, like everyone but Loretta lived. And Loretta was the only one who got like a child's inflatable vest. I saw that today. Or life jacket is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. Inflatable vest. Who am I? Who am I? Okay. Now, there's somebody filming it take off. And then all of a sudden, there's somebody filming them in the water. Why are there cameras everywhere? Like, why is there filming? Like, people, like, news were watching this plane go off. It falls out of the sky, and then you're able to get there that quickly, and you have a fucking phone or camera on. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. I really wanted to show you this video right now if I had the ability to share my screen. But let me pull it up for myself to see. Can you see this at all? Probably not. It literally looks, there's 8 people in the ocean, and this person is filming. And if you watch this video, it looks like a scuba diver comes out of the water and pulls her down underwater. Now, I know what you're going to say. There are some people, I've already seen it in the comments, that it's not a head that pops up, it's her foot that pops up. I think it looks like a fucking scuba diver. I think it literally looks like somebody pulls her down. I think there's a reason why she's the only one with a fucking kid's life jacket on. And I think they murdered her. Like, this was all very intentional. And then you can go into like a whole discussion on like Hillary Clinton and the Rose Law Firm and the black box patent that it owned that has the ability to kill like any engine in any vehicle or plane anytime. And then you can go into a JFK Jr. discussion. And then you can go into an Arkansas discussion. And then you can go into a Clinton crime family discussion. And you evaluate all the people that have died connected to them in plane and car crashes. And you wonder if that bitch has just been flicking on and off that patent all the time to take out engines. So did they take out the engine of this plane? It falls into the ocean. Everyone survives. And then this little motherfucking scuba diver comes up in a wetsuit, pulls her under. She dies. And then there's nobody to confront regarding the legitimacy of the Obama birth certificate. And the discussion just ends. Again, I don't know why the buck stops with her. I don't see why like an expert could not have been brought in, because this is the other thing that I wanted to show you. This is something I was going to play for you. Unfortunately, I can't do that at this moment because YouTube Live sucks. But I'm going to play it through. Do I not have it pulled up? Maria. Hold on, baby. You gotta bear with me. You got to bear with me. Where is that post? On Obama being a woman and Michelle being a man. Okay. This is a video that I love to play. Love to play all the time. Because it's just like a random guy in fucking Great Britain talking about British intelligence and Obama. And yeah, so Loretta Fuddy dies, but at the same time, everyone in the fucking world knows this.
Yeah. For those who don't know the problem with Obama, and by the time this is viewed on the internet, it will probably be all over the newspapers. He was born in Mombasa in Kenya. It's very interesting because that sits on British intelligence files. His father was close to the Mau Mau. He used to run guns and money into the Mau Mau. He was a flick man in the Mau Mau and the German intelligence network in East Africa. And Obama was born in Mombasa in about 1960. His mother, we think, was one of Obama Sr.'s many mistresses. And the woman who is now dead, who was allegedly his mother, wasn't pregnant in July 1961, but Barack Hussein Obama claims to have been born in Honolulu on August 4th, 1961. Now, we have a doctor here, Owen, Dr. Lister would, I think, confirm. I'm not a medical man, but my understanding is that if a lady's giving birth in August, we like to see her pregnant in July. In a pretty good year. For those who don't know the problem with Obama, and by the time this is viewed on the internet, it will...
Okay, that speech was made on February 26th, 2014. Obama was born in Kenya. British intelligence officer barrister Michael Shrimpton said that. That is a December 18th, 2022 post of mine. You can go back and look at that. So everyone in the world fucking knows about this. But now Loretta Fuddy's dead and we can't fucking do anything about it. You know, these are the flaws in my own theory that I'm attempting to proffer to you, but, you know, we got to talk about all possibilities. This next clip that I want to play for you is from Judge Joe Brown, my man from Memphis. I love Memphis. I lived there for a couple years. And if you immediately have a bad taste in your mouth and you think of Memphis in a negative way, get the fuck out of here because you don't know Memphis like I know Memphis, okay? Might not be able to find the long clip I wanted to show you. I might just have to show you the short clip. Okay, here we go.
Last one, number 44, and the one before that, 43, Bush and Obama. Well, there are pictures of Bush with his arm around 8-year-old Barack Obama because his stepdaddy, adopted daddy, Lolo Sotoro, had done a lifetime worth of business with the Bushes. Uncle George Herbert Walker, after whom George Herbert Walker Bush, Bush 1 president, was named, founded Halliburton in 1946 in Oklahoma. And Lolo Sotoro had been international executive vice president for Standard Oil.
There was talk of him being a CIA asset.
Well, yeah, see, he ran the death squads for the Indonesian army. On his own call, anyone could be assassinated. So when George Herbert Walker Bush became head of the CIA under the Ford administration, he just got with his old buddy in the oil business, Lolo Sotoro, and pulled off the hit. Last one, number 44, and the one before.
So we have an individual that we know is not Barack Obama, that people know is really named Barry Soetoro, or whatever the fuck his name is. British intelligence sits on information that the United States president is the Manchurian candidate and is not a United States citizen and therefore should not be president. Everyone knows this but us. And like, our government did nothing about it. I find that like fascinating, you know, like there was so much discussion about like if you questioned that whole birth certificate thing back then, how like crazy you were. And obviously like I wasn't paying attention to things the way that I do now. Now again, like, is this some elaborate story and it's all part of the narrative and it's all part of the movie and it's all written like this so that we could be sitting here in this moment, looshing ourselves right now? Could all of it be for just this moment? Yes. Could we be living in Roku's basilisk and all of this be built for this one moment? Yes. Oh my gosh, Mike McNeil too just gave $25 from Lolo and Barry Soetoro. Thank you so much. That's so nice. I appreciate it. Could all of it be for just this Lucy moment, this Lucy discussion? Could this be a never-ending rabbit hole, just the way that child trafficking and Epstein and adrenochrome are? Yes. But again, we're back in our red pill hat hypothetical and talking about how everything is possible. So let us continue. I just wonder why. Why did nobody do anything about it? True Manchurian candidate vibes when an actual non-US citizen is elected president. Like, don't you find that at times you just wonder if they take a principle, they take a law, they take an idea, and they just twist it and pervert it and fuck with it and mess with it. Like, they dangle it right in front of you, being like, look what we're doing. Like, in a, you know, Jurassic Park reference, just to like see if we're gonna do anything, you know? Like, we are alive, but we're also a dead mouse, and they are the cat, and we're in sleep paralysis by our own choosing. And they keep tapping us, being like, look what we're doing. Look what we're doing. And we just sit there and be like, wow, that's awful. I wish I could do something. I wish I could change this, but I just can't pick myself up off the floor. I don't know. Troll level all the fucking time. So this was like my wild idea back then. Is like, is there the reason why there's no justice because of these blanket pardons? Let me make sure I've hit like the notes I needed to hit thus far. Okay. This is something I wrote. This is like an old post of mine. So I'm going to kind of skip through. Sometimes I write myself notes and I like literally leave them there for 4 years, and I searched Fuddy and I found this. So this was a post that I wrote some time ago. Let's see. A federal pardon in the United States is the action of the president that completely sets aside the punishment for a federal crime. The authority to take such action is granted to the president by Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the United States Constitution. The clause says the president, quote, shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment, meaning that like a president cannot pardon an individual being impeached. While the president's powers to pardon seem unlimited, a presidential pardon can only be issued for a federal crime, and pardons cannot be issued for impeachment cases tried and convicted by Congress. So imagine that you're Obama and you have 8 years in office with the brightest legal minds in the country. You issue blanket pardons for every federal crime that exists for each and every one of your friends. And then somehow you're able to keep these like on the down low and sealed. Let's see. Again, this is what I was writing back at the time. At some level, this is what I wonder if it's really going on. How else do you explain the complete lack of accountability on any and all levels of government? Blah, 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 blah. This is just what I was saying at the time. First, this is when I thought Trump might actually be dismantling the cabal. What would be the holdup? Currently, it's two-pronged. First, the blanket pardons. Second, we don't have control of the House. We can't file articles of impeachment, begin investigations, appoint special counsel. Imagine the House going back to the Republicans come November and they vote to file articles of impeachment against Obama for Obamagate. And through this investigation, the birth certificate comes up again. Do you remember Trump back in the day? He was one of the biggest proponents of the birther movement in 2008. According to political scientists, Trump, quote, became a virtual spokesperson for the birther movement. Why would this occur? When you achieve a certain level of wealth, the political affiliation of the president is really irrelevant to you. A shift from blue to red is not going to have any impact on that billionaire level of individual. So why did Trump bother? Like, why did he care? Why did he get on his soapbox at all to talk about this? If it's the plan, or if it's been the plan all along. Perhaps it became the plan with Project Looking Glass. All right. Oh, okay. Little more clarity on Loretta Fuddy. Loretta Fuddy was the sole fatality in the crash of a Makani Kai airplane off the coast of a Hawaiian island. She was the acting director in the state of Hawaii in 2011, and she saw, this is what it was. She oversaw the release of the detailed version of Obama's birth certificate to the White House. Obama hoped that the document's release would curtail the long-standing rumor that he was not a citizen. And so they took her out because she was the one that released this detailed long version of his birth certificate. And then she could no longer be confronted about this release. Okay, probably should have talked about this as we were talking about this before. I'm sorry. And like, this was at the same time where we were doing those like counts, you know, like we were watching the sealed indictment count all the time, and it was up to like 150,000, 200,000 sealed indictments. At this time, I think it was at 175. So I go on to say that, like, I think Kenya is going to come back up again. I think Q was right in post 894 when he said, quote, remember when I talk about Q, it's really an it. Sometimes I use the he. Don't get fucked up about pronouns. I think it was right when it said in post 894, quote, when we're done, he'll claim Kenyan citizenship as a way to escape. Could this have been Trump's goal since 2008 to expose the truth of his Obama citizenship? And what could that potentially do? This would obviously be unprecedented as he being this Manchurian candidate, but potentially could, and even now, like, let's pretend we could come back full circle. Trump becomes Speaker of the House of Representatives. We have a slight red majority. You can still file articles of impeachment to invalidate a presidency now. So Trump becomes Speaker of the House. Congress impeaches Obama. It's confirmed by the Senate. Could the Supreme Court then set aside his presidency? Maybe it's the legislature that sets aside the presidency, but nevertheless, we come back to a juncture where the Supreme Court is then like issuing an order that sets aside all of that executive action that occurred. And if the blanket pardons were real and SCOTUS set everything aside and all of those pardons then go away, could that be the proverbial draining of the swamp? Is this how we take back our country? Is this what future Tyler, wanted when he instituted Q way back in October of 2017? Was this the point of everything? That's what I was hoping for during the Trump presidency. That's what I was hoping for in the midterm elections of 2018, that the House was going to gain a red majority, that the articles of impeachment would be filed against Obama, his presidency would be invalidated, the blanket pardons would be invalidated, everyone would go to jail. Gitmo is real. What a world that would have been, you know? So that was my wild theory. Now let's take it a step further. To the 100 of you that have stayed with me for this 2 hours and 21 minutes, I fucking love you the most. I gotta say thank you to Sticky Icky Hoo He. I'm saying Stecky because it had the E. But thank you so much for your contribution. I'm so humbled. Oh, that's not. This one's like sticky and it's. Preheat that motherfucker back up. What did you think about that theory? What did you think? I thought it was kind of fun. Now let's take it a step further and a little step weirder. Ooh, that was a hit. That was a hit. Don't cough, don't cough, don't cough. Ooh. This was a great comment that I screenshot right before we got on here that Johnny Somatic made on my little like Loretta Fuddy post. And this takes it a whole step further that Cheney, I think you and I should play with sometime. I don't know if you're still in here. I haven't seen you chat in a little minute. But, okay, Johnny Somatic says, let's take it one step further. Adolf Hitler had 4 daughters while living in Argentina after World War II with Eva Braun. 3 of them were taken to Germany to be raised in the quote-unquote motherland. Their names were Angela, Teresa, and Dahlia. The 4th, named Anne, stayed with Hitler and Eva because she was the youngest. After Hitler died in Argentina in 1957, Eva Braun changed her name to Madeline Lee Payne, took their daughter Anne, and moved to the United States. She married Stanley Dunham, and her name became Madeline Dunham. Anne became Stanley Ann Dunham. Anne was 19 when she got pregnant with a Kenyan national called Barack Obama. She moved to Kenya and gave birth to her son Barack. Shortly after her return to America, she married Lolo Sotoro and had a second child, daughter Maya, Barack's sister. Once you come to realize that Barack is Hitler's grandson, it all begins to make sense why his birth certificate was never brought to life. Bitch, what? Like, I've been here for the theory that Angela Merkel is related to Hitler, the daughter of Hitler, but the idea that Barack Obama is the grandson of Hitler is not one that I've heard before. And so I want to go back and see if there are any more comments to this, because I saw it very briefly before I got on here. Hold on. He said, "I'm German. Enjoy the dive." I'll leave 3 more. The daughters of Hitler were Angela Brand, who becomes Angela Merkel, Theresa May, and Dalia Grybauskaite. I don't know if I said that right. He goes on to say the Fourth Reich is alive and well. Who else do you think runs America these days? Stanley Dunham's distant cousins include 6 U.S. presidents and another president who is Dunham's grandson: James Madison, Harry Truman, Lyndon Johnson, Jimmy Carter, George H.W. Bush, and George W. Bush, plus Barack Obama, his grandson. I also learned today, on a side note, the Rockefeller funded Alfred Kinsey and all of his freaky and evil experiments. This was somebody else, but like, wow, what a fucking theory. And just like a whole another like level to like this. Like, even if our whole discussion here, if none of that is really real, the fact that Obama could be Hitler's grandson is just like insane. Truly, truly insane. Truly, truly insane. So now let's take it just another fucking level deeper, baby. Okay. You know how I was just saying that, like, maybe like this is a never-ending rabbit hole and like you're never supposed to find the answer, and you're just supposed to like keep chipping and chipping and chipping away? This is a tweet that I did. Have you heard the theory where Obama was a participant in Project Pegasus and used to go to the jump rooms to teleport to Mars? Have you heard of Project Pegasus? I have now a theory that I have considered for years involving Obama's birth certificate, the Trump's birther movement, and the injustice because of these blanket pardons. But what if all of that, what if the Loretta Fuddy of it all was a never-ending rabbit hole for those of us who like puzzles, so that we wouldn't talk about things like Project Pegasus and the Mars jump rooms? Okay. Before we talk about those portals, we need to talk about a fucking post that the CIA made today. Now, I haven't posted this yet because I was working on formatting everything, but 9 hours ago when I took this screenshot, which was at 8, so like 12 hours ago at this point, go to the CIA's Instagram, and they Instagrammed a picture that's called the World Fact Book, Bermuda. Moon gates, an iconic symbol of Bermuda, are believed to bring good luck, prosperity, and joy to all who pass under them and make a wish. In 1860, a local sea captain returned from China with plans to build one. Today, there are 40 gates across the island on private and public property. And then there is a picture of a moon gate, which is essentially, if you can see this right now, it just looks like a circular, it's like portal-esque, okay? So there's allegedly 40 of these all over Bermuda, and they come from a local sea captain who saw them in China and brought them to Bermuda in 1860. So that got sent to me today, and I was like, okay, the CIA wants to talk about, like, make a portal reference then. So then I saw that moon gates originated in ancient China and are traditional elements in Chinese architecture, acting as portals between gardens as well as between inside and outside. They were mainly seen as circular archways and walls, but now are also designed for freestanding structures. Okay. So moon gates are a reference to portals. Why is the CIA talking about moon gates in Bermuda? Now, this was a little narrative on this post from the CIA. It says, quote, make a wish, hashtag factbooked Friday, walks you through one of Bermuda's 40 moon gates. Walking through a moon gate is believed to bring good luck, prosperity, and love. Okay. I have a whole theory, like if space is an ocean, if we're, I don't know, I don't think space is real. I don't think anything that's given to us is probably true about space. I wonder in like a visual of season 6 of the 100, like they're using portal, like almost like port key technology, and they jump from planet to planet instead of using some sort of like rocket or the traditional way that we would navigate space in some sort of vehicle made by man. Could your actual ability to travel through like the space-time continuum in that way, in perhaps what is the fourth dimension outside this world, could you do that through portals? Okay. So again, remember, we've suspended thought. Again, if you made it this far, fucking 2.5 hours in, I guess I don't really need to ask you to suspend any sort of belief. Okay. Where is what I want to show you? Project Pegasus was a quest that begun in 1968 by Andrew Basiago, when he was serving as a child participant in the United States Space Exploration Program, Project Pegasus, the classified defense-related and development program under the DARPA Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, in which the United States Defense Technical Community achieved time travel on behalf of the United States government through the real Philadelphia experiment. Project Pegasus was launched by the United States government to perform, quote, remote sensing in time so that reliable information about past and future events could be provided to the United States president, the intelligence community, and the military. It was expected that, need a sip. It was expected that 140 American school children secretly enrolled in Project Pegasus and would continue to be involved in time travel when they grew up and went on to serve as America's first generation of chrononauts. The children found, however, that in the process of serving as child time travelers attached to Project Pegasus, they became America's time space pioneers. Okay, that's stupid. They didn't need to write that fucking fluff sentence. Andrew Basiago was the first American child to teleport and one of America's early space-time explorers, as told in his book. In 1968, he resolved to one day tell the truth of his experience in Project Pegasus and reveal to the world that the United States government has a secret teleportation technology that, if the public knew about, would revolutionize transportation across the face of our planet. All right. So now let's go back. Andrew Basiago then comes out later. He's a lawyer now. He's 50 years old in Washington State. He served in DARPA's time travel program, as you know, in the 1970s. And with his fellow chrononaut, William Stillings, who's 44 at the time, they were both tapped to be part of what's called the Mars program for their technical genius. And then they both publicly came out and confirmed that Barack Obama was also enrolled in their Mars training class in 1980, and that each later encountered Obama during visits to the rudimentary facilities that they were creating on Mars that took place between 1981 and 1983. They were among the first Americans in the program who later encountered on to Mars by teleporting through what they call the Mars jump rooms. According to them, they attended a 3-week factual seminar about Mars that prepped them for the trips that they would later take via teleportation. This was taught by remote viewing pioneer Major Ed Dames, who was then serving as the scientific and technical intelligence officer for the United States Army. Blah, 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 blah. They stated that 10 teenagers were enrolled. Lord Maria. Okay. They stated that 10 teenagers were enrolled in the Mars training program, that Barry Sotoro was what he went by at that time, and Regina Dugan were part of these 10 people. Regina Dugan was somebody that Obama later appointed as the 19th director and the first female director of DARPA later in 2009. Let's see. As many as 7 parents of the 10 students all had ties to the CIA, audited the class. They included Raymond Basiago, Andrew Basiago's father, who was an engineer for the Ralph Parsons Company. He was the chief technical liaison between Parsons and the CIA, talking about Tesla-based teleportation. Tom Stillings was an operations analyst for Lockheed Martin, who served with the Office of Naval Intelligence. And Mr. Obama's mother, Stanley Ann Dunham, carried out assignments for the CIA in Kenya and Indonesia. They state that one of the Mars jump rooms was located in a building occupied by Hughes Aircrafts at 999 Sepulveda Boulevard in California, but it was adjacent to LAX. Some of these things like say the same thing all the time, so I'm trying to summarize this for you. I think that's really it. But what an interesting story this is. Do you believe that? Okay, now I have another clip for you. Truth Defeats Illusion said, I am low-key hilarious in subtle ways at times. I'm so glad that you realized that, because my goal in life is for people to realize how funny I am. Okay, I know maybe you don't want to hear this. Maybe you do. This is a 3-minute clip, but this is Dan Burrish, and he's going to talk a little bit about Stargate technology, and then he's going to talk about the looking glass and the yellow cube, and I just find this to be so interesting. And originally, I was going to play this for you on share screen, but now I'm going to play it for you now. Over the next 3 minutes and 43 seconds, as we kind of round out this time together, I would love if you would ask me a couple questions here. I've literally talked my face off about crazy conspiracy theories. So here we go, baby.
With dealing with time sequences.
Wasn't the original looking glass a back engineered from alien technology?
Yes.
Okay. But it also, there was information around the cylinder seals that they used as also, and that those cylinder seals also came from an off-world race. Is that not
from well, no, the cylinder seals didn't. The information on them did.
Came from? Which was maybe the Anunnaki? Is that
I wouldn't feel comfortable in characterizing it with that name.
Okay.
I really shouldn't go.
But it was off-world technology originally.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at this point, like, okay, say that was in the 60s, the 50s, the 60s, you said.
Well, yes. That's when they started actually being showing a lot of interest in actually building the equipment to be able to see over the curvature of time-space so that they could see into the future and somewhat into the past, but basically the future.
Okay, so there's also our Henry Deacon contact said there was a black box that came on one of the crafts. And I don't know if you're familiar with that black box. Did you have exposure to that as well?
Yeah,
So
it was something that we called the cube or the yellow disc or yellow cube, yes.
Okay, but then that was
I
not
have
a
had
looking
experience with
glass. Was that a looking glass?
That is a variant of the technology.
Okay.
However, whilst the looking glass shows probabilities or has shown probabilities, the cube would react.
Okay, I just want to pause this real quick because I want you to be thinking about this as he talks about the yellow cube. So he's about to talk about this alien technology that a conspiracy theory goes that Hillary Clinton had access to this technology. And so if we're still in this red pill hypothetical where Q is real for a time, there's a line that goes, they never thought she would lose. I'm sorry. And so they never thought she would lose. Is that connected to this yellow cube technology? And when she interacted with this yellow cube technology, it showed her in every hypothetical that she was going to win. It showed her what they wanted, what she wanted it to show her, like what she wanted to see. Obviously, we could go into another discussion at some point that at that time she never thought she was going to lose, but then Trump came back through Project Looking Glass and manipulated things. I don't know. I just think having that context in mind makes this a really interesting discussion.
With the people present. So there was an alteration, if you will, over what you were seeing from it. It would actually spin out as a yellow disc out of the top of it, where the word yellow book originally came from.
Yeah.
And depending upon what predispositions, kind of like little Yoda telling young Luke, you bring in there what you have with you. You know, whatever is in there is what you bring. You could then change the perspective, the tilt, if you will, the orientation or angle of the information being presented back to you. So unless you are well prepared to deal with such a thing, human interaction and human emotions bring instability of the provenance of the information.
Okay, that's what went on with the black box, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, but with the looking
and
glass...
I use that to our advantage at the T9, because that, in fact, was present at the T9, and I projected certain information which caused a little upset during the meeting, and they got certain abductions removed and Lotus removed off the calendar and things like that. I caused some real trouble.
Can you elaborate? Are you willing to elaborate?
Let me sit here and consider what I should and should not. During the negotiations for the Tau 9-6, I was asked to supply a...
Isn't that just fascinating? I love those Dan Burrish talks. I have another clip I can't find of him that talks more about like the Stargate technology as well. And then you get into a whole discussion on the United States invading the Middle East regarding weapons of mass destructions. We're never actually about, nuclear weapons or that any of that type of technology. Was really that Gaddafi and Saddam had access to gold and they had access to Stargate technology, and we were seizing that in the Nimrod of it all. Just fascinating stuff. Bringing it all the way back full circle to the CIA posting about moon gates today. Riddle me this, Batman. Riddle me this. Okie dokie. Oh, let's talk about a fun little thing that your girl did. Do you remember this guy? And again, this would have been a great clip for me to show for you. But YouTube hates me at this moment. So let me find it. Okay, are you ready? Ready?
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
Everybody's a suspect. That's Jamie Kennedy, actor in Scream, the original movie. He is like obviously he's still an actor, but he's a comedian. And I saw him talking about vaccine injuries in the wake of Damar Hamlin this week. I didn't realize that he was that type of free thinker like us. And I thought to myself, this would be a fun podcast. And I commented on one of his posts and I slid into his DMs and he said yes. And I am so excited. We're going to get together hopefully this weekend or early next week and do a podcast together. And that's just going to be fucking cool, you know? So we're bringing back some guests here and there, baby. I'm getting my shit together, baby. You know? Okay, any thoughts from the class as we wrap up our hour together into the third hour? Could the AI or could the yellow cube be the AI why can I not pronounce that? I think I always call it the I don't know if you the Demogorgon. Project Pegasus, there's a lot of Stranger Things references are referencing Project Pegasus at a lot of those times. Did you ever were you a member of public school? Were you a member of like the gifted program? If you were, do you ever wonder if they were like tinkering on your brain a little bit? Or perhaps seeing if you would be a good candidate for Project Pegasus or some other government agency type thing bullshit. There's been a lot of Brian the Leo brings up cell phones into the past. I don't know if this is what I think the reference is, but I saw some things on TikTok showing like art references and how like looking back, we didn't realize it at the time, but are these references to like cell phones in modern art, not really modern art in the past, bringing up the whole idea of like Tartaria and we're most definitely like not the most sophisticated nor the most intelligent nor the most advanced race that's ever lived on this planet. Show. Well, I hope you enjoyed this long session together. I'm so grateful for the 92 of you that are still sitting with me as we are 2 hours and 47 minutes into it. We had lots of fun conversations tonight. I love you the most. If you reach this juncture, you are what I consider an elite member of the class. What does that mean if you're new here? If you're an elite member, you have listened to the very end. And so to show me that you listened and to like perhaps connect with another member of your class, I'm going to assign an emoji right now. And I'll ask you to put that emoji somewhere in the public sphere. I know some of you will do it in the chat, and I love that. I know that some of you DM that to me, and that's not my favorite. Even though I love you, I want you to put it out and about on Twitter, on an Instagram post, because it makes people be like, what is that? What does that mean? But then you also know somebody's like fucking cool ass member of the class. Like if they watched all 2 hours and 47 minutes of this shit. So the first emoji is going to be the X-ray emoji. Oh, X-ray emoji that I didn't really know existed into this moment, but I've been talking about like MRIs this week. So I think that would be apropos. And then the second emoji that we're going to put out there. Ooh, you just heard me do my ring girl voice. Shoo. I'm letting you know too much. Too much. Okay, I gotta pick an emoji. Let's see. X-ray, and I like it to be really random. Let's do the little joystick. There's like a joystick and it's red. It's got like a circular red thing on it. So give me a joystick or give me an X-ray, baby. Let me know that you listened to this episode. Brian the Leo, this is your first time full listen. Welcome. Thank you so much. Ring Girl is a psyop. She is for sure, but I can make my voice sound like that in like a weird type way. Okay, let's see. What else? How was Peyton's birthday? My bambino, my baby bambino turned 12 yesterday. And we just had a good day laying together. I got him a bone that's literally this big, almost as big as him. And he's been munching on that all day long. And he's a little spoiled child. Like, he gets a treat every time we come in from a walk. So, like, don't worry. Homeboy's living the best life possible. I've been talking about his health a little bit on my stories and how I give him ivermectin and Rick Simpson oil once a week, and I feed him like a real food diet. I eliminated kibble like a year and a half ago, and that was like one of the best decisions that I ever made. And he's lost so much weight, and he's doing so much better, and he had knee surgery this year, and we're fully recovered, and we are good to go, baby. Okay. Did I have any other weird thoughts in my notes for you? Oh, thank you so much, Sergey. Am I saying that right? Sergey? $5. Thank you so much. Brian the Leo, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys so much. So much. Okay. I don't think I have anything else for you unless you have any last minute thoughts. Last. I have read that while we have been here, McCarthy has been elected the Speaker of the House. So a great deal of this conversation is completely irrelevant at this point. But it was a fun discussion, hypothetical, while it lasted, right? Is it confirmed? Oh, yes. Kevin McCarthy has officially won Speaker of the House. He will now reside over a cabal of fascists, election deniers, conspiracy theorists, and insurrectionists. Oh, fuck you, whoever the fuck this is. Dash, whatever the fuck your name is. All that to say that Kevin McCarthy has won the speakership. Oh, Schwell. Oh, Schwell. What are you doing this weekend? I have nothing on my docket, and I'm so fucking excited. Hopefully that means I'm going to be creating some content for you, because nothing grinds my gears more than putting some like heart and soul into a post and then being too lazy to create it into like a video, but also like just being weird. And I like don't like to make videos or be on video, but I just keep writing these like fucking fire posts, and then these little motherfuckers turn them into TikToks and they get more views than me, and it's pissing me off so much. But every time I upload something on TikTok, it takes it away and like tells me that I violated the community guidelines. So a fuck you to all the social media companies that exist. Okay, to those of you that are left, tell me what you think about hats. I'm going to do a snapback, maybe a flat one too, maybe not. This says PSYOP. It's embroidered. There's mymaria777 on that side. I really wish I could put 47 on it, but there is a fucking 47 brand of hats. So I don't know that I could without a little copyright infringement. But I'm going to do black with white writing. I'm going to do green. Somebody asked way earlier in the chat, but I did remember it and I wanted to bring it back. What color green? I wish I had my Montana hat in here. I have a lighter green Montana hat, but I was thinking of like a darker kind of hunter green one with white writing. And then I also have this other fucking hat that's mesh, snapback, a little flat. And here it just says, mine is, it says ciao in Italian and like really big words like that. And so I was thinking of doing a huge psyop like that, but I didn't know if that would be too much. So those are my thoughts on that. I hope I have some more merch ideas out soon. It's just a lot to do, baby, in the part-time time that I got. But maybe we'll do this full-time soon because life is too short to keep pushing your goalposts back, you know? You know. Somebody said no green. I did too many colors last time, and green is like the color of this season for me. Black and green are the only colors I like to wear. So it's mine, and we're going to do green. But I got to find some people to manufacture this for me. I know I've got like members of the class that have reached out to me, and I appreciate that so much, but I'm just like a tangible person. And I like want to go somewhere in Nashville and like touch things and talk to someone. And like, I don't want to email back and forth for like an eternity because I fucking hate emails. But we'll see how that goes for me. Maybe I'll find someone tomorrow. I feel like in my heart and soul, I just like to like get high and go antiquing. I think it's so fun. So I might go antiquing tomorrow and looking for some hat stores that I've been looking at in the Nashville area. Okay. Oh my God. Bruja by the Bay, who I love so much that I follow on Instagram. She just posted somebody's tweet that said, I've had sex that was more violent than January 6th. Oh man, I haven't had sex like that in a long time, but that's a good one. Oh man. I brought up the George Floyd and the George Lloyd connection. You'll have to listen again if you missed that part. That was so fucking funny. So fucking funny. Okay. I got nothing else for you. Oh, Bruja by the Bay. I don't know where I've mentioned this before, but let's mention it again. She does energy healing by Mel. She's great. She's meme queen, Bruja by the Bay, but she did like a cord cutting ceremony for me recently and like cut all of these cords, energetic cords, men cords. And she was like, watch, they're going to come back. And dude, some like weird people that I haven't talked to in like 2.5 years contacting me. Just a weird time. We're going into retrograde right now. Oh, it's a full moon tonight, you guys. Okay, let's talk about the full moon and we'll get out of here. Do some like weird full moon juju tonight. Go make some moon water. And all that means is like take a glass jar, fill it up with water, throw a crystal in it if you got one, take a Post-it note and write a manifestation that you want. And when you write that manifestation, you write it in the future tense and you say it as if it's already happened. So I am so grateful that I met the love of my life in 2023, or I'm so grateful that I met financial success by making X, or whatever it is you want to manifest. Say that you're grateful, say it in the future tense, say it like you already got it. I just write it on a little Post-it note. Sometimes it's a lot, sometimes it's a little. I take my water, I think about it, I put some intention on it, I stick it outside in the moonlight, and I charge that shit up. And then maybe you drink it all at once. Maybe you drink it over a period of time. Maybe you do whatever the fuck you want with it. I don't know. But go make some moon water. Go be weird. Take your clothes off. Go outside. Dance in the moonlight. You know, shake your titties a little bit. If only I had a house and could do that myself. Oh, man. In the synchronicity of it all, it is the wolf moon in Cancer. I'm a Cancer rising. I'm controlled by the moon a little bit, or I cycle with the moon. It's interesting if you follow Timeline Gain of the Week, which came back this week, but in weeks past, I selected Lone Wolf because Ray broke up with me, and told me back last year that he was a lone wolf and he couldn't settle down. So when stuff like that happens to me, maybe you guys realize this about me, maybe you don't. I like to transmute things in that way. And I like to if you are my personal friend, if you and I were texting, poor Cheney has to deal with this all the time. At any moment, I could be taking a screenshot of our conversation and posting it on my stories for you guys. You never know when that might happen. And so in my crazy Maria, don't give a fuck, being delusional, not don't take delusional in a negative way. If you're on TikTok, maybe you get it. There's just this whole movement right now to just be your most delusional self. In my most delusional self, when somebody is mean to me or hurts my feelings, I try to transmute it and give it to you guys a little bit and make fun of it. I do this with when people send me shitty DMs sometimes too. But I thought to myself, okay, Ray wants to be a lone wolf. Well, I'm going to then put lone wolf as a timeline game of the week and transmute that energy. And I know he still watches my stories, so I just like to fuck with people all the time. I'm a subtweeting motherfucking bitch. But all of that to say that now it's the wolf moon, and that just seems so apropos. And it's us transmuting that lone wolf energy again to our own benefit. So, snaps for that. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. That sounds like a horror movie. What, me posting or me taking lone wolf and transmuting it? Whatever. I think I'm funny. Maybe you're saying that's someone else. I'm not sure. Okie dokie. If you have nothing else for me, then thank you so much for listening to all. Oh, 3 minutes or 3 hours, 3 minutes and 3 seconds as I looked at that right now. Damn, that's some fucking Damar Hamlin energy. We got to transmute that somewhere else. What am I trying to say? Thank you so much for listening. I am so grateful for you. I would appreciate if you would subscribe to me here on YouTube, but then you'll get a notification when I post things. And I would love to pump those numbers up a little bit, baby. On whatever podcast app you're listening to, if you would listen, subscribe, and leave me maybe a 5-star review and tell me how much you love me so everyone else would listen. If you're made it this far, remember you're an elite member of the class. Show me that joystick and show me that x-ray somewhere out in the public. I hope you have a fucking fantastic weekend. Friday Night Live is something I hope to do on a weekly basis. Unfortunately, I will be out of town next Friday because it's my mother's birthday, and I have to go home for that. But in lieu of Friday Night Live, you will get an episode with me and my mother. I know I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but she could not make time for me back then, even though I was home for like 5 days. So we are going to record a podcast together next weekend. I don't know that there will be a visual. What did I just do? I don't know that there will be a visual component to it because I don't know that she's ready for that, even though she'd probably love to show off to you guys. But she was a hygienist for 20 years. And so I have all of these questions about her thoughts on fluoride and root canals. And you guys asked some incredible questions a couple weeks ago when I did a little like Q&A for her on the stories. We've also she was an NPC for a while, and we stopped talking for a period of time after I realized she'd been lying to me about her vaccination status for no reason. She likes to, she's one of those people, I feel like this happens to me a lot, but eventually, I kept asking her, I was like, Mom, I know you're vaccinated. You can just tell me, did you get the vaccine? Did you get the shot? And she lied to me for 8 months. And then eventually I was like, I know that you did it. Just tell me. And she told me, and I was like, why did you lie about this to my face? Every day, I was telling her Maria stuff. Can you believe this about the vaccine? Can you believe that? You need to listen to this podcast, mRNA that, synthetic this, blah, 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 blah. I was like, I just feel silly. You knowing all the time, you're not even probably actually listening to me when I said all of those things. You're just harboring this secret. Why wouldn't you just tell me? And she went on to say, you're too emotional. I didn't want you to get upset and emotionally react. And you would have said this and you would have said that. Also speculative, then going on to say that nobody can talk to you anymore. And it's just if you actually knew me whatsoever at this point, you would see all of the work I've been doing on myself and the growth that I've done. And I don't care. I don't judge anymore. I'm not here to judge. Everyone's on their own journey. You do you, baby boo. You want to jack yourself up with that shit? Be my guest. I'm not here to judge. But she is now woken up, and sadly, her boyfriend died in May, a week after he got his 4th booster. And in the grand scheme of things, he was a fucking motherfucker. She won't listen to this, so I don't have to worry about that. But treated her like shit for 5 years. And if karma was ever real, damn, it swung back around in that way. But he got his 4th booster, was out volunteering at Zion, and just fell asleep or didn't wake up when he went to sleep. And that for her was this aha moment. And she saw what we've been talking about this whole time and really woke up in May. And no, she doesn't listen to the podcast, and I don't think she probably ever will, except for the one that she's in. I love her. But I'm so happy that I've been trying to crack her eggshell all this time, and I definitely put some little cracks in there. But if that eggshell is a red pill, I couldn't make her take that red pill. She literally is the mother of mymaria777, and that didn't mean anything. She didn't want to listen until she was ready to listen. And that's my whole thoughts on you can't red pill anyone. You have to take that first red pill yourself. I'm just here to crack your eggshell. You are just there to crack someone else's eggshell. Breaking out of the matrix is a step that Neo has to take for himself. But we chit chat a little about this kind of stuff, but we've never really had any sort of deep, penetrative conversation. And I would really like to just get some hot takes on her. Did you ever reconsider the moon landing? What conspiracy theories existed while you grew up? Have you ever questioned the nature of your reality? in the aftermath of my stalker situation that I acquired in a chat room talking about Project Looking Glass. If you don't know, go listen to the second half of episode 33 of the podcast, which is only audio only. But that motherfucker told me that he was synesthetic. So in the aftermath of he and I breaking up, I was telling my mom that he was synesthetic. She tells me that she's synesthetic and that she can see energy and like see energy in and around objects. And I'm just like, Mom, I've been weird my entire life. I've questioned reality my entire life. And we never had this conversation until now. I don't know. So I want to ask her about her synesthesia and all sorts of weird stuff. I think it'll be a very interesting conversation. I think you will enjoy it. You will meet my insane mother. And it will be a very interesting dynamic for sure. For sure. Okay. It's 12 fucking 24. I gotta go to bed. I love you. I love you. I love you. You love me. You really love me. And then I also, if you ever hear me say this, I'll say it now. But I love the I love you from Home Alone 2 when they're like kneeling and Kevin's playing the black and white movie, Angels. What is it? Fuck, I know this. Anyways, where he's like, get down on your knees and tell me you love me. And Tim Curry goes, I love you. Have you ever dated me? Like, I say weird shit like that all the time. Just to see if you understand my reference. I love you. I think I'm so funny. Oh, Lord, probably this is why I don't have a boyfriend, y'all. Anyways, I love you. And thank you so much for listening. This is mymaria777. This is episode 107. How apropos is that now in the grand scheme of things? That like we were talking Q, we were talking 17, we were talking some fucking glittery red pill hypotheticals. All the while, this was episode 107. And we said it in the beginning, and I don't think we ever said it again. What's my best yo mama joke? Yo mama so fat. I don't remember any of those, to be honest. Yo mama so fat. I don't know. One time we like to like give my mom a hard time, and she's really sensitive, and that is what it is. And so we would kind of make fun of her for some of the stuff she said. And one time she goes, everybody's got to be a fucking comedian. And we all just died laughing at her in response. And so now we all say that now all the time. Like, everybody's got to be a fucking comedian. And that's my best joke about my mom for now. Make you laugh and you'll give me 9 million. Shit. You wouldn't give me 9 million through YouTube. 3 eyes. Everybody's got to be a fucking comedian. Oh. Wish I could tell you her name. My grandmother has a very Italian name. My mother has a very Italian name. And then I have this like basic bitch name. Maybe one day I'll tell it to you. Okay. I love you. Have a great weekend. Thanks for hanging out with me. Catch you on the flip side.